entrepreneurs are a whole different breed. I mean, I'm talking about, in business, corporate America, who thinks anything woo-woo is a little bit out there. But I definitely agree that entrepreneurs have a whole different philosophy until, of course, their business gets so big that then they have to hire a manager to run it, because entrepreneurs don't want to run a business. They want to create it. They want to continue with the ideas, but they really don't want to manage people. That's not part of their plan, so to speak. So when you say, when was the last time you reflected on your beliefs? And you say your feelings, words, and images that you play over and over again in your mind. Now, there are people I know who do that, but the images are not good images.
That's right.
There are things that totally cloud them from the world. Mm-hmm. So how do you go about changing that?
Well, the first thing is that I don't go about changing anything. I really reflect it, and then I use language of shifting it or resolving it, in a positive way. Because even if something's not serving us, we think, and we play something over and over and over again, I believe that there's a reason why we did that. Some way, somehow, we believe at one time in our life it served us. Maybe it was not a positive way of motivating, but at the time it was. So you can find what's really positive about a behavior that doesn't serve you now, but maybe it did at one time. So you resolve, you shift, you move it into your now and into your future. I also have a chapter there that's called collective consciousness, because some of the beliefs we have in the images we play over and over and over again, sometimes they're just beliefs that we got passed on from our family. There's a collective consciousness out there, and we're not even thinking about it. And so we just accept that's the way it is. So I ask people to list certain beliefs that no longer serve them, and kind of just like if you were researching a paper, kind of just take a moment to understand, why did you take on these beliefs? If they did serve you, how does it serve you? And even though it doesn't look positive, but maybe it serves them to be disciplined. Maybe it serves them to not get into trouble with things. I don't know. But we can shift those beliefs, and we can resolve them. And when we resolve them, we have a different outcome.
Well, that is very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm. There's a chapter in there that's called Stage of the Day. And Stage of the Day is a very simple technique. I mean, my whole thing is simplicity. We don't need to make things complicated, and if we can simplify it, we move on it right away. We process it, we understand it, and we move on. And Stage of the Day, I explain in chapter 9, and it's really before you step out of bed, before you even do anything, right there, just for a few seconds, because you talked about meditation, just for a few seconds, ask yourself, how do I want to feel about my day? And for a moment, project that you are going to create the emotional stage of your choice. And then you run down your day. Let's say it's patience. Let's say it's a mom. Let's put entrepreneurship and business, in that aspect aside. I mean, a mom's her own entrepreneur too. And she's stepping into the unknown. She's creating an environment, a culture. And, she may feel like she's losing patience. And so in the morning, just to run through, what does it feel like to have patience? And maybe not in that situation, but maybe in another situation where you are patient, and just transfer it over to that. And so it doesn't become so heavy. It becomes more like fun. And you shared before about that you don't meditate too much, or you really don't have a formal way of doing it. And I share that in the book. I don't think I do either. One thing I do is in the morning, I really do a check-in with myself of how do I want to feel emotionally through the day, because that's my anchor. But I feel that our whole day is a meditation. We're always in our imagination and thinking, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. We had a billboard, the weather, the this. So I feel that we're all day in a meditation. And the more aware we are of our day, the more we manifest chosen outcomes.
Well, I know that your tagline under the title Power Wishing is visualization techniques for manifesting. So in your opinion, do you think that you have to be able to visualize in order to manifest, or do you think that manifesting can simply come from powerful thoughts without actually picturing them and seeing them in your mind?
Well, let's see. When you have a thought that comes up for you, Does it have emotion or it doesn't have any emotion?
Well, for me, it probably, some of it has emotion. Some of it may be just routine, but some of it has emotion.
So focusing on the ones that do have that charge, those are the ones that you have a connection to. And so usually the thoughts that you have some type of emotional, what I call like a hit, usually we create a picture automatically about it. And that's what I'm sharing with you. That imagination, that visualization that comes in the moment, that's what we want to be more aware of how we're framing that outcome. Even something as simple. It's raining, live in Miami. Not everybody is good at driving in the rain. And I'm sure some people get behind the wheel and it starts to storm and pour. And all of a sudden, they have this thought, oh my gosh, what could happen with all this rain? And they go straight to what would happen if they had an accident. Or what would happen with this? And those are the moments that I share about the emotional imagination, to just be aware of it. And in that second, shift it.
That's so true. I am sure there are people that I know I do this sometimes, where I know I have to get somewhere and I'm calculating how long it's going to take me to get there. And then I think, okay, how much traffic is going to be on the road? How many red lights am I going to hit? And I think to myself, and then sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. And sometimes I'm just, oh yeah, this is the way I thought it would be. And then I think to myself, well, maybe I put this in my mind and I put this into destiny, because I've been thinking, well, I'm going to hit all these red lights, and I hit all these red lights. So I do think that there is a connection, and I think more and more people are becoming aware of all of this. A question to you might be, when and how do you start instilling, or do you not, this kind of viewpoint into your kids?
That's a great question, because I'm very passionate about children. I feel it's the way that we're aware as parents or mentors. There's incredible mentors to children, of how we language to them. And so, for example, there's a story in there about my son, your perception, your reality. I learned a lot from my children, of being able to have great conversations with them. But it's the way that I share in conversation to give it back to them, for them to own the way they want to feel and they want to see it. And I feel that that's very powerful. So, for example, if my son came home from school and he had a bad day because of a teacher, and he's just convinced, as I share basically in the story, that this teacher is going to fail him, he won't be able to have, good grades, and then he won't be able to be in sports, and da-da-da-da. And to take him back and say, okay, well, how do you feel right now? I feel like I'm hopeless. It's not going to happen. Okay, well, how would you like to feel? Well, of course, I want to feel good. Well, do you know how that feels? Do you remember feeling it somewhere else? And kind of, I'm giving it the short of it, but a dialogue like this with children, to support them to own their feelings, to know that does make a difference, how they feel. And at the end of the day, no one can take that away from them. And
that is true. That is true.
And I put that in the book with many, many stories, because sometimes, I've had those feelings and I didn't know how to shift them. And so I would go and find somebody that I admire, that I felt conquered a situation that, I would like to conquer at that moment. And I go to positive reinforcement with mirroring behaviors that support where I want to be, or a story. And I will study, as many people as I can think of that conquered a situation.
Well, now, I think your book is a very powerful book. So where can people go to get it, and how would they contact you if you would like them to?
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you for that. Amazon.com. It is on Amazon right now. And also my website, powerwishing.com. And I will also be speaking at the book fair. I'm so excited to be at the Miami-Dade Book Fair this year, walking around for so many years thinking, one day. And here I am,
And there's your power wishing.
It's for real. It is so exciting for me. So I will be speaking for 1 hour on the 22nd of November at 12:30. And all that information is also on my website, powerwishing.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so, Anne-Marie. And I want to thank everybody for listening to Women in Business, the show that brings you women entrepreneurs and senior managers. I hope you've enjoyed our show today. Connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, and be sure to download my ebook, Life Lessons from an SOB, on my website, spunkyoldbroad.com.
I love it.
And you can also find information on my speeches, coaching, and resources. Or you can email me at Gayle, Gayle Carson 13@gmail.com. Thank you so much, Anne-Marie, for being with us today, and thank everybody for listening.
Thank you very, very much. Have a beautiful day.